Hello everyone and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian, and as a gamer, a father, and a content creator, I'm busy, and I am sure that you're busy too. Over the last several years between my channels, many other streamers and content creators have messaged me and asked for advice on how they can grow their stream and their channel. And so I would actually sit down with them and answer their questions, and I would share with them what I'm about to share with you now. In this guide, I am going to go into great detail about my process and share with you my data, my analytics, and yes, even the amount of money that my channel makes. Beyond that, I want to really talk to you about what it means to be a busy gamer. You, like me, most likely have a job, and you might have aspirations of being a full-time streamer or content creator, and I think that you're in the right place. But I'm going to be very real and open with you in this guide. Hopefully, with this information, you're actually going to be energized by it, by what I share. And that being said, I am doing this in hopes that you can take this advice and make it your own. And all I ask from you is this. If you do learn something from this video, please pay it forward. Be some good and positivity in this world through your content creation and through your joy and love of video games. And if I might be so bold as to ask one other favor, is that if this is your first time watching this video, I ask that you please watch the whole thing through from start to finish. Otherwise, some of the later parts of this video might not make any sense and might be even taken out of context and just sound downright confusing. But of course, if you need me to clarify anything in this video, please let me know in the comments below, and I've also included chapter markers, so if you're returning to this video and you just want to get a refresher on any specific part that I'm showing off today, you can use the playhead or the links in the description to pick up right where you left off. Now with all that being said, let's go ahead and dive in and help you grow as a content creator. The outline for this video is pretty simple. We're going to first talk about my rules and what I try to apply to all my content. Then I'm going to talk about why YouTube and or Twitch, Mixer, and other streaming platforms really work well hand in hand together. And then finally, I'm going to talk and show off my stats and how I apply even this guide to my own content. So let's first start with a high-level overview of the 3 key principles that I try to apply to my process when deciding to make a video. And these are, it's not about you, how is this discoverable, and what about this is exciting to me. As we continue through this video, hopefully you'll see these 3 key principles at work. But let's break them down and I'll explain my process behind them. And I'll even explain how I'm applying them to this very video that you're watching now. So the first key principle, it's not about you. This is just a general philosophy that I apply to my everyday life, sometimes successfully. What it means in the context of video editing is, what gift am I giving the viewer? Am I informing them of something interesting or important? Am I teaching them a skill? Am I sharing with them a story? If you focus your attention away from you, which might sound weird, especially if you're actually somebody who appears on camera, and use your voice to highlight something beautiful or important, you're right in line with this principle. It's also very important that you understand that the opposite of this works actually very well. But most likely, you won't like the results. When you make it about you, this is where you've seen trends in the begging for subs category over on Twitch. The internet as a whole can actually agree that you shouldn't be begging for subs. And how could these individuals say such an outrageous thing when the reality is it really gets the attention of viewers, and more often than not, it's a fast track way to grow. Negative attention, unfortunately, can still lead to positive results. The second key principle is, how is this discoverable? This is a common mistake that is made all the time when starting out making a video. Your title of the video is very important, and what I mean by this is to ask you, how do you search for things on Google or on YouTube? Do you search for how to grow, how to bake, how to dance? Take a look at your own search pattern and history and start to see how you should title your videos. The second piece of this puzzle is also your thumbnail. It might seem like a new frustration laying out your thumbnail for each video, so try and make it easy on yourself. If we take a look at my thumbnail template, it's set up here with layers and zones and colors to help communicate what type of video it is. This is where we also need to take a second to talk about clickbait. It's important that you don't clickbait, and that's to say, don't deceive the viewer with what the video is about. But it's also to say that you need to make the most clickable thumbnail possible. For example, if we take a look at the home page, if your video isn't showing up here on the home page within the first several videos, you're not going to get clicked on. Now, this principle also applies to searching. So if I just say how to win at Final Fantasy and see what it pulls up, I'm going to get several results. Most likely, if you're not in the top 5, you're not going to get clicked on. Maybe if you're not in the top 10. But as we scroll on and scroll down, the likelihood that this is going to recommend the video that I want to play is lessened. But just from a word of experience, even if you don't make clickbait, you're still going to be accused of making clickbait. Everybody has a different degree of what that means, and so don't let it bother you, but also don't purposely try to deceive your viewers into watching your video. And this really brings me to my third principle. What about this is exciting to me? Content creation is a mixture of passion and creativity. If you're not excited about the news or the guide, it's going to show, it's going to come across, but rather focus in on what it is that you enjoy. In the context of gaming, is it a game that you really love to play? Is it a game that you're interested in that is not out yet? Maybe it's a mixture of both. At some point, you're going to have to decide and weigh in on what games that you really want to stream and what you really want to post about on your channel, because you really can't play them all. And honestly, that's perfectly okay. Focus in on what that you're most excited about, and if you follow the first two principles, this will only highlight the third principle even more. And honestly, I think it's going to bring the most joy because you're going to be sharing something that you're absolutely passionate about sharing. So now we come into part 2. And this is really important for me to address with you specifically. While there are exceptions to every rule, generally speaking, if you want to grow your live stream, YouTube absolutely needs to be a part of what you do. The reason is principle number 2. How is this discoverable? For a streamer, this might be playing some unreleased game. But if you're small, Twitch really doesn't care about you. And thus, chances are a publisher wanting to give you a copy of their game early so that you can actually grow your stream, that's really rare because it's not really in their best interest. They want to get the game in front of as many eyes as possible. It's this as a major reason why you might see a lot of streamers, quote unquote, blow up after making series of guides talking about how to grow as a streamer. People are generally interested, and this is what they are searching for. Kind of call back to principle number 3. They get discovered, and then perhaps when they stream, more people will stop by and say hello or ask a question. But here is the real info that you need to know. If you ever want to take time off, if you ever want to have a family, a life, or do something other than stream, Twitch, YouTube, and Mixer will happily let you burn yourself out trying your best because they know there's always someone else willing to pour themselves into this process. I have my own personal serious concerns when it comes to streaming, especially streaming along as a busy gamer. That's why you don't see me stream that often. I work to try and create what I call or label evergreen content. It's that content that is valuable hopefully today, tomorrow, and maybe even in a few years from now. Now, not all your content has to be what I would call evergreen. That's why evergreen is not a principle, but it's something to think about when you're creating content, namely something that can help both get discovered and be recommended and be searched even while you're streaming, so that hand in hand these two principles, these two platforms are working together in your interest. You can't be live all the time, but YouTube videos are there, always available for people to be searched and have the chance to be recommended. It is a tough balance to take. You might not understand video editing and how to go about doing that. And if you want some more courses on my process for editing videos, sound off in the comments below. Let me know how I can help you with all of this. I've been doing this for many years, and honestly, I find a lot of joy in it. People often wonder how I can produce content the way I do, and perhaps that's probably another video or a whole series on this topic in and of itself. But let's move into part number 3. With this, let's talk about numbers. Let me show you everything and how I've applied these principles and these thoughts, sometimes successfully, to the contents, and hope that you are able to find success with this as well. Okay, so now we come to it. This is part 3. If for some reason you skip parts 1 and 2, some of what I'm about to show you might sound very vague or out of context. but I'm going to show you how I take my principles, the 3 key principles I talked about in part 1, and apply them to this. The other thing you're seeing is I'm not a full-time content creator. I go to work, I spend time with my family, I play the occasional game or two, and I have a blast with it. I really enjoy making content, and hopefully this will inspire you to do the same. I'm currently blocking out my revenue. I'm going to show that towards the end. I thank everybody for their support in any kind of ad that they have ever watched, and my YouTube members for actually hitting that join button. You do not need to join for this content. This is free, and I hope that you take it and run with it, and like I said, that you pay it forward. But note that I am actually a little bit nervous sharing these numbers with you. I don't know what your reaction is going to be. For me, the revenue, when we get to that section, isn't enough for me to feed my family off of, but it does help with some expenses around the house. And I couldn't be more grateful for this community. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you and an open book in this case. Originally, when I started out, especially with Ginger Prime, coming from Work the Game, the idea was, do my principles actually work, or did I catch lightning in a bottle with Work the Game? And people would ask me for advice, and I would give them this advice, and they wouldn't do anything with this advice. And then they would be frustrated, they'd quit. And that really was like, oh man, like, am I telling them wrong, or am I communicating it effectively? And so I decided, well, let me see if I can't reproduce this. Now, I did get a little boost because I have a bigger channel than Ginger Prime. However, when I look at the numbers, it wasn't that significant of a boost. And most of the people who've discovered Ginger Prime have discovered it for different reasons other than Work to Game. So you can see right now, just for the last 28 days, these are my numbers. Over here on the right-hand side, you can see my current subscribers, and you can see my views for the last 24 hours. Numbers are up due to the excitement, principle number 3, things that I'm genuinely excited about talking about, but also that shared excitement that comes in with the release of any kind of new game, a game that I happen to be really passionate about, and this is the case of Phantasy Star Online 2. My views right now are at 413,000 views over 28. My watch time is at 42,000 hours. This is up, in this case, up 26.9K more than usual. Subscribers in this case are up 2,000.6 subscribers, 1.6 more than usual. So there was definitely a big bump, and you can start to see this trended over time. If I go select my reach here, what reach is how many times my video is being recommended on the home page. This comes into what's discoverability, but this also comes through what's my impression click-through rate. How many times when my video is shown is it selected? And we'll dive into individual videos, and you can see how they perform based off their type in this regards. So looking at principle, number 1, 2, and 3 here, discoverability is definitely up by 106%. Click-through rate is down, so that's telling me maybe my thumbnails overall aren't working. What you'll see as your community grows with your thumbnails themselves is that the people who are already subscribed, who know your content, maybe know your schedule, will get excited and they'll go watch your video. So when a video first released, the click-through rate will be much higher because they're your subscribers, ideally. And then as it kind of goes out to the bigger world, you'll start to see that fall because somebody might not necessarily see that. And that's actually one of the things that it's really important to recommend. If you are a creator, or if you have a creator that you really like, the best thing you can do for them is share them with other people that you know. More often than not, I would say 90% of the time when I discover a new creator, it comes from the personal recommendation of a friend or somebody that I'm talking to online over the algorithm recommending anybody to me. It's still important that the algorithm recommends you, and so we'll talk about more of those stats here in a second, but I want to show you that, like, generally overall, I'm hovering around, kind of a 3, and in this case to 4% on average over the course of all my videos. Views wise, you can see here just over the time, some nice little spikes here, as obviously we have the release week of Phantasy Star Online 2, and it's kind of going back down to its normal views per day. The play sign represents the videos that were then published at that time. Unique views, this is somewhat a little bit different. So how many people came back and maybe watched the video again? So I can see that I actually am getting overall maybe if somebody's watching my video twice or something like that, which is unique and interesting and just good to know. I don't put a lot of value in that. Maybe that's wrong. I like to look at my impressions and see how that's performing, and then like to watch my click-through rate. This is also where, and I have been advised by people who say I need to clickbait. And I said, no. And I was like, people already think I do. And they're like, you don't clickbait. And so it's just a funny, interesting world that when people, just different perceptions, people saying I need to actually start that and because it perform better. And it's like, that's just not what I mean by it. And so I want to jump back into my thumbnail. It's perfectly fine if you're especially excited about something to say, like, this is really big news or this is exciting news. There's nothing wrong with that as long as it lines up to that. Everything can't be big. Everything can't be exciting. Everything can't be, just the worst or the best of the extremes. Obviously, the extremes are what going to get more attention, but you got to find some level of stability in the content you make. Otherwise, you're really going to struggle. And when something big does happen, it's almost boy who cries wolf. Like people are like, oh, he just slaps like big or massive news or whatever onto that subject. All right, so now let's jump into engagement. Watch hours, like I said, it's up 75%. And then you can kind of see the same kind of trend following with the views. Watch time is really important. It's more weighted. And that's how the systems cannot try to identify clickbait, is that if somebody clicks on your video and clicks right off, it counts as a view, but like your overall view duration is going to be down. You don't want to overextend the length of your videos. It's just not going to make sense if you're just kind of rambling on and not providing any value at that time. So try to find a good length. Depending on the type of content, especially if you're in the gaming space that you want to produce, you're going to have to find kind of what's the best length of a video that you can see. You can see overall just right around the 7 to 5 minute marker. That tends to be the views that I get, the duration that I get per video. All right, so it's audience time. Unique views, we talked about that. Average view per video, meaning right now somebody comes in, watches a video, they're going to stick around for at least 2 videos, which that's a big bump right now by 43% over the last period. You can see here my subscriber growth right now is at 151% more, and that has a lot to do obviously with the excitement around Phantasy Star Online 2. Overall, you can see just generally for this channel getting anywhere from like 20, and I have a couple of bigger days. Really just depends on the news. I can't manufacture news. And as a channel, you'll see that then actually if we go look, let me just pull up another tab so we don't lose my spot, YouTube, and we're going to go with my videos and kind of show you what I do with the thumbnail. So you can see here power leveling for busy gamers as a guide, and you can start to see within the guides there is a color theme that I have. Like looking at my home page right now, hopefully you would start to see that with the type of content that I make for Ginger Prime, I have a color scheme, and then I also have kind of telling you what it is with text in this case, and that's just because I've gone and really tried to make sure that these thumbnails have some kind of characteristic that unite the channel. So if you're just browsing content and you see something like this, and you might say, oh, I like what Ginger Prime produces, I'm going to go watch that video. You're going to see that here. Green represents a type of what I call coffee chat. That's us, just a general chat of opinions and what's going on with games. It's not necessarily news driven. Red represents news and that falls into principle number 1. Like, what am I giving the person? It's not about me. It's about like what I can give you. And this is like more information focused. So news generally can be a good source for discoverability because people might generally be excited about the news. But the third principle applying here is that you also have to be interested in the news itself. Otherwise, it's going to show. If somebody said like, Brian, I wish you would talk about all the gaming news. And I said, like, I'm only going to talk about the things that I'm excited about. Otherwise, it's going to be harder on me. I'm not going to enjoy making the video. It's going to come across. And ultimately, that's not fun for either of us. I want to share with you what I'm excited about. And so for you evaluating if you want to cover news, don't try to find gaps in like, oh, somebody isn't talking about whatever. Find the passion that you have, and I guarantee you'll find the gap because somebody might not be talking about it. And so anyway, like generally as a rule, like when I talk about evergreen, That's a guide. That's something that's going to exist, and maybe there's going to be an update or two, but I really personally enjoy making guides. You don't have to go and make guides if you don't want to. Sometimes, and I've been making these for a long time, and Work to Game was a really good kind of training ground for me to kind of figure out how I should make them, how I should break it down. But ultimately, you can see that I put out some guides, I put out some news, and I put out some opinions. What you won't see, and why I created Ginger Gaming Radio, and over at Work to Game, why we moved the Casually Hardcore podcast to its own channel 100%, is that it is such a different style of content that generally it was actually hurting the channel. We moved the Casually Hardcore podcast to its own channel, and our subscribers just grew. So if I look at just here, like we're talking about, all of a sudden we were at just right under 1,000 a month on Work to Game, and then we pulled the podcast and we jumped up to 1,600. So we had like almost a 40% boost in subscribers, 40 to 50% boost, just by taking one piece of content off the channel, because people weren't watching it. So that was, that ended up hurting us overall in the algorithm. I don't want you to worry about the algorithm, because if you stick with the 3 principles, I think you're going to be perfectly fine. So I want to, before we dive back into the revenue, and I'm not trying to tease it, I'm trying to show you guys a little bit more of what it means and dive into some specific videos and talk about the revenue on those videos specifically before I show you overall what this looks like. PSO2, new video. This is new. It's been out for just a couple of days, June 1st, power leveling for busy gamers. If I just pull up the analytics on this video specifically, let's take a look. Right now, since published, almost $30 in revenue on this video alone. And you can see here 5,000 views over the last 48 hours. If I switch that to kind of a 60-minute or an hour view, about 54 views an hour. So what's happening is that people are watching this video right now while I'm recording this video for you. So I'm able to sit back and do this. Imagine if you were live streaming, somebody could be watching this video, and you could have that link to say, hey, you want to watch me play this game live, or do you have additional questions? This is when I stream, if you're interested in checking that out. This is one of the reasons, again, like I said, you see a lot of how to grow as a streamer from small streamers. They're smart streamers. They're creating something that's discoverable, that people are searching for, and they're capitalizing off of it. And what I mean by, I hope that you don't skip the first 2 steps, because while that might sound cold and calculated, sometimes you have to think, you kind of have to divorce yourself from the emotion of creating a popular video, because otherwise it's just too bipolar. If somebody doesn't watch your video and you get upset by it, you really need to figure out a way to help balance that. So what I find is that speaking about videos and the numbers and the analytics in a pure business definition and mindset, it helps me out. It helps me say, like, okay, like what actually worked in the data. Like, what does the data show me about what that actually worked like and what didn't? So anyway, let's go back in and dive some more into these stats. You can see my typical performance is this gray bar. And then you can see the performance on this video is the blue bar. Watch time is at 2,000 hours, 165 subscribers from this video. The videos themselves are going to tell you how they perform. Audience retention, what this tells me is that we have a kind of a bigger drop off. So within the first 12 seconds, I guess these are the bots or who knows what's going on. And then you kind of see overall. If I look here at 40% of the community watches, pretty much 10 minutes of this 20-minute video, just under 19 minutes. So ideally, I've seen people who've got higher, who watch the videos further to the end. So I can look at this and say, overall, the average audience retention is 7 minutes and 45 seconds for almost 40% of the video. Maybe this video actually was too long and I should probably cut it down and cut it shorter. If we go into reach, another important, so 220,000 people have seen this thumbnail. And out of them, 5%, which is higher than my average, have clicked on it. And then if I go to engagement, I can see my watch time, average watch time, somewhat like down here below. The audience in this case, unique viewers, average view duration, subscribers, and again, the revenue. My estimated revenue, my monetized playbacks. You'll notice this very quickly once you get monetized on YouTube, is that just because it's monetized doesn't mean an ad is going to run on it. Generally speaking, At best, I've seen 50% of the views actually monetized. So if 100% of the views got monetized, like again, if we go overview, 15.6 thousand views, out of which 6,000 were monetized for $30 with basically a estimated playback CPM like per thousand of $6.71. So overall, it makes sense. Think about it like per thousand views. That's what this video, based off the ad buys, would be making. And so it can't be about the money because it's gonna, like, if it's about the money, like, you have to get really big. You have to be really big as a streamer. You have to be really big as a content creator to even try to consider this full time. And so you can kind of see here as an ad breakdown. So that's the first bit of revenue that I wanted to share with you. Let's go back in here and let's pick another one. This is a very popular video that I've had, that I had out for a while. And so overall, it's continued to perform. Now, these numbers are since published. So this is since this video was published. And you can see here, almost 300,000 views, watch times almost at 40,000 hours, almost 2,000 subscribers on this video alone, and it just kind of has been continuing to grow. You can see here right now performing at 4,755, and then you can look at the hours, and it's still performing right now at 86 views an hour. And the revenue, like if we just jump to this tab, monetized playbacks, again, almost 400,000 views, and less than half that has been monetized. So that's just the nature of YouTube. You have to think, you have to go mentally into this, that you're preparing to make videos for free, because that's like, if you go in with that mindset and people watch it and an ad runs and you actually get a cut of that, then fantastic. So let's talk about, like we talked about, discoverability, and this is really important. Suggested videos and YouTube search. You'll see that as a guide, especially an older video. Browse is interesting. What this tells me is that somebody watched another video of mine, they subscribed, and then this video showed up on their homepage that they hadn't seen it. And so out of everybody who's watched this video, 6% has seen it from their browse page, while suggested and search have been showing up more. Let's go take a look at a different video. So that's a guide. Those both are two guides. If I go and pull up, what's a recent video here that's got coffee chat, let's Data Gaming, we had ACG on here. You're going to see channel pages. People have actually found it from the channel. Director unknown, so he was linked it, and browse. Browse is definitely higher. People are seeing this recommended to them because they have subscribed to it. But overall, you're not going to see this as searched, and suggested being at 4% actually is a little bit higher than I expected. And that's just the nature of it. And that's also the nature of the video, being it's a much longer episode. It's going to appeal maybe to less people. And the fact that we had 2.7 thousand views already is quite impressive overall. So I'm really excited about that. And overall for this, you can see $7.13. Hopefully this might be something that lives on for quite a while, but I'm not expecting the most of it. This is something that I like to do just for fun. So we've seen some numbers, we've seen some stats. I can ideally dive more into that with you guys if you need attention. And now I want to show you overall for the last month what Ginger Prime has made. A lot of this boost comes obviously in the course of this span of time. Typically, you can see my channel this last month has made, typically less than, like $15 a day on average. A couple of nice days in there, like $36. That's like, I saw that and I was like, wow, that's great. Before we got into this period in which that, with the excitement, with the rush, with the issues with the game itself, that ended up bringing in quite a bit of money. And then down here, going right back pretty much into its normal thing. Overall, and I can say this with great confidence, over the course of my time with Work to Game, this is pretty much like par and par with how things kind of ebb and flow. The important thing is, and that what I want you to take away from these numbers, from all of this data, is that if you're not utilizing YouTube and you want to be a streamer, it's going to be very hard for you, and maybe you'll make it. And honestly, if you got the passion and drive, you could easily prove me wrong. All of my philosophies here might not necessarily work for you. However, they continue to work for me. And if me sharing this with you inspires you, energizes you, wants you to jump in and start getting things done, that's going to help out dramatically. And so that's kind of my stats, and those are my numbers here for Ginger Prime. I think if you, again, those key principles, making it not about you, making it discoverable, so whatever you do create is going to show up in search results, especially until like you're established and you have a community that's excited about your next video and what your thoughts are on whatever. Again, you don't have to focus in on guides. I just personally like them because I really enjoy breaking down games into their core components and just trying to explain them in a way that hopefully is not intimidating. Like at the end of the day, that's the gift. I'm like, hey, this is a really cool game and I hope you check it out. And here's what you need to know about it. And that's that principle there. And the last one is that, you're not going to see every game out there. And as a busy gamer, as a dad, I'm never going to be first. I can't be. There's not enough time in the world. But, just like with games like MMOs, and maybe I put a busy gamer's guide to MMORPGs. And just like with that concept, I'm able to sit down and kind of put in the time, and I'm able to break it down, and I'm able to explain it. If you feel like you have nothing to offer and you only get one thing from this video, you have to get that thought out of your head right now. And hopefully that wasn't what I was supposed to lead this video with. Hopefully you're here listening and you need to know that just because you know it doesn't mean somebody else out there knows that same thing, and you can share that with them. Hopefully you can get over any kind of fear or anxiety that you would worry that someone's going to come in and tell you that you shouldn't make this video, or why does this video exist? Yes, you're putting yourself in the public space, and yes, somebody might come along and say that to you. But make the videos that you want to make. And I would encourage you not to let a worry about that stop you. I'm continually surprised and excited when somebody says, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. And even though somebody will come in and say, who doesn't possibly know this? I'll have 10 to 1 comments of somebody saying, I never thought of it that way. Your experience, your life, the way you were grown up, the way you were educated, the way you play games is different from me. And don't let that assumption that everybody already knows this prevent you from making something. I'll never be first. There's just no way. When we look at the numbers, this number of $956 could be life-changing for you, and hopefully you crush this and make 1,000 times more than this. For me, this helps my family out. You guys are supporting my family by watching my videos. But my mortgage is more than that. Our grocery bill is more than that. This helps me pick up some games that I like and I'm excited about. So you kind of help my hobby with gaming. But this also helps cover some expenses like the dentist and other things that come up naturally. So I thank you guys for your support. Hopefully me showing this information to you guys doesn't say, you're not out, because I've always, the concern and the worry I have when it comes down to the money behind content creation is pure as this, is that when a gamer is getting paid, is he really passionate or is he just doing it for the money? And I can understand the critique, and I can tell you from my perspective, if I was just doing it for the money, I'd go deliver pizzas, because for the hours that I invest in making videos, it'd be way more if I was just in it for the money. That's it. Hopefully through these videos and through this guide and this video itself, you can see the principles that I apply in those videos. Sometimes, and I mean this, sometimes successfully. And that's what I try to hold myself to. And hopefully this was good. I don't really know how to end it, in this regards. But all I'm going to say is thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And if you got something out of this, please pay it forward. There's somebody out there who needs you, and they could be in your life today, or they could be in your life tomorrow. The world is hard enough as it is. And if we can be there for each other, we can, I think, make the world a better place. I love you. I love your faces. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you have a fantastic day. And I hope to see you in my next video. But until then, take care. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. This video is sponsored by me. If you guys like podcast and long-form content, I hope you check out Ginger Gaming Radio. Link will be in the description of this video below. So if you're still watching this video, thank you, and check out the new channel for more content, and hopefully you enjoy. Thank you.